Tim, from a when we talk about when Kimberly talks about the emotional side of this, um, which is so important, and I've read so much literature recently about how perceived effort, the members' perceived effort is more important than the actual effort they went through to solve a problem or something, right? Like we not only have to make it easy on them, but make them realize that and make them
Make them feel it.
just address the emotional side, but right. What so Tim, from Medallia standpoint, especially, like how do you measure that? What are you? I mean, I know you guys are looking at signals all across the enterprise. Can you kind of talk through how you go about measuring that and monitoring that, the member sentiment, um, the member experience from the emotional side?
That's right. Yeah, I think that we're seeing a kind of a sea change across industry and a recognition that we can't rely on surveys alone to measure how people think and feel about the interactions they have with us as a brand. And some of it is just based off of the sheer volume of data. Most survey programs, like an email survey program, a best in class response rate is 20%, right? 20%, 25% of members might respond and fill out a survey. That means that you're making decisions without knowing what 75, 80% of members felt or how they interacted, even if it's a call center interaction. And so there's just so much focus now across industries, really, to and not to stop surveying people, even in the case of stars and stars performance. Obviously, CAP surveys directly influence that. Those are surveys, and that's not going to change. But it's how do you take that and complement it with observed behaviors, things like the call recording that somebody has, and leveraging that unstructured data to calculate the sentiment. How did they? What was the sentiment associated with that interaction? And that calculation shouldn't just be focused even on the member. It should be focused on the associate that was having the conversation with your member, right? You should be able to measure both of those things. That's an example for call center interactions. Digital interactions, it's there's such a big focus on digital transformation, trying to provide self-service capabilities to individuals across brands, certainly in healthcare. And we don't need to rely just on surveys, obviously, to understand what that digital interaction was like. We can actually observe the movement of their mouse. We can observe the fact that they are rage clicking, which is a term we use, or that they're birds nesting. They're moving their mouse erratically, right? They're continuing to press really hard on this submit button, right, to submit their statement of health. And we don't have to ask them, was this a bad experience? We can infer that, right, just by observing those things. So there's a big focus, I would say, across industries, and we're starting to see healthcare pick up on that. And I think the connection, one thing that I was thinking about when Kimberly was talking earlier is, how to understand what actually our members want, what they view as a good experience. And the trap that we see a lot of companies fall into is that they kind of decide. They decide that these are the investments that we're going to make. We're going to build this app, right? Or we're going to build this new dashboard or platform for our providers. And we have a list of features that we're going to deploy, and we design all of this stuff and we build this roadmap. And then after that, then we say, now what does the provider think? What do they want? How do the survey responses match up with this great design that we have, right? And that is not being customer focused. That is not being provider led or member led, right? You should actually flip that script. You shouldn't be designing user stories or features without first fully understanding what that constituent wants and what is important to them, right? And I'd say that's one of the biggest traps that we fall in. I'm still seeing some of that with some of the healthcare companies that I engage with on a regular basis, but I think that's one of the biggest areas of opportunity, particularly in healthcare, where they're so mission driven. Anthem is trying to improve the health of humanity, for example, right? So we have this purpose that is ingrained in what we do, right? And so how do we now train tens of thousands of people inside of Anthem to be purpose driven, right? To be customer led, and that is the big opportunity.